In Lesson 4 of Chapter 10, we're going to deal with area of triangles and trapezoids. So let's see where the area formulas come from. Well, here's a triangle, and you see how we have this right angle symbol. We need the right angle symbol to use this formula. And I'm calling the side that is going up and down, the vertical side, the H. That represents the height. And this horizontal line here that connects to the right angle symbol is the base, B. And so if I was to make this into from this triangle to a rectangle, all I'd have to do is add another base. See, if I add a base going straight out, parallel to the base I already have, and then a line going straight down, parallel to my height, what I have is a rectangle. And the area formula for a rectangle is just base times height. Well, I don't really have this rectangle. What I have is a triangle. And notice that the two triangles are exactly the same size. So if I was to erase this portion, and what I basically did is I cut it in half. And so what we're going to end up doing with this base and the height is we're going to end up multiplying those, but then dividing by 2. Or what we say is we call it multiplying by a half. So basically what we're going to do to find the area of this triangle is do base times height divided by 2. Or we could think of it as 1/2 the base times the height. And so that is our area formula for the triangle. So let's go ahead and try doing some of these problems. So the key on these problems is to look for the right angle symbol. It doesn't matter if they gave us a length of one of these other two sides. They could even tell us that this side is maybe 6.5 and this side is 6.8. It doesn't really matter what these two sides are. What you're really concerned with is this right angle symbol right here. And you're concerned with the two sides that are connected by the right angle symbol. So all we really need are this 6 and this 7, the two sides connected by the right angle symbol. And that's our base and our height. And so all we're going to do is do 1/2 the base times by the height. And so we go ahead and substitute those numbers in there. 1/2 times the base, which is 7, times the height, which is 6. And so I can go ahead and multiply those two numbers. We'll go ahead and multiply the 7 and the 6 first. And we get 42. So I still have this 1/2 times by 42. Well, multiplying by a half is the same thing as dividing. So basically all I'm doing is I'm doing 2 into 42. And so when I do that, 2 goes into the 4 2 times, 2 goes into the 2 1 time. So the area equals 21. Now I've got to use square units for this. So let's just say it doesn't have the units there, so I'm going to write down units squared. And so I'm using that little 2 as a nice squared symbol. So 21 units squared units, is the area of this triangle. The next one, again, they could give us sides. They could tell us that this is 6 and maybe this is 10. It doesn't really matter what those two sides are. They don't matter. All we really care about is this side right here. And so when you see this right angle symbol, look for the two sides that are connected by that right angle symbol. It's the 5 and the 13. Those are the two sides we need. And those are the numbers that go into our formula, 1/2 base times by height. And so let's go ahead and find out what the base and the height are. Well, it says that they're 5 and 13. So if we go ahead and multiply that 5 times by 13, we end up with 65. So the area equals 1/2 of 65. See, 65 would be the area of the parallelogram if I made this, or the rectangle if that's what the shape was. But that's not the shape we have. We have half of that, which is a triangle. And so I need to divide that 65 by 2. And so 2 goes into the 6 3 times evenly. 2 goes into 5 2 times with 1 left over. And so we can say the area is 32 and 1/2. So area equals 32 and 1/2 units squared. And that would be our answer. So that's the area of a triangle, just 1/2 the base times the height, or base times height divided by 2. Well, the trapezoid form is a little bit more tricky, so let's take a look at this one. Let's say, take this trapezoid. A trapezoid we know has two parallel sides. So this side here and this side are parallel. This side and this side are not parallel. But what, again, we're looking for is that right angle symbol. That right angle symbol tells us that the distance between the two bases is the height. And so if I was to take this trapezoid and break it into two pieces, cut it right into here, what two shapes do I have? Well, I've got a triangle and another triangle, but they're different. You see, I do have the same height for each triangle. Notice that the height here makes a right angle right here, and then this height right here, if I was to draw a line going straight down, that's the same as the height over here. So these are both the same height, h and h. They're exactly the same. Now the bases are different. That's why they have this 1 here and this 2 here. It means this is like base number 1, base number 2. So if I was to find the area of these two triangles, I would do this. I would do 1/2 the base 1 times the height. The other one would be, and I'm going to add it together because it's the same shape, would be 1/2 base 2 times by the height. Well, what do these two expressions have in common? The two expressions, the two parts, the two triangles, what do they have in common? Well, let me show you here. They both have a 1/2 and an h. See, this one has a 1/2 and an h. So what we can do is we can take out that 1/2 h. So let's go ahead and remove that 1/2 h. And here's what we do to do that. We go ahead and divide by 1/2 h. And I'm going to divide this by 1/2 h. So basically, I'm taking that 1/2 h and I'm putting it on the outside of a parenthesis because they're both being multiplied by 1/2 h. Now, what's left over? Well, if I cancel out the 1/2, cancel out the h here, cancel out the 1/2, cancel out the h, I'm left with a b1 plus b2. And that's what I'd put inside the parentheses. And so that's the area formula for a trapezoid. It's basically two triangles with the same height. And so all we have to do, since they have the same height, and they're both being multiplied by 1/2, all we have to do is add the two bases together, and then multiply that by the height, and divide it by 2, or multiply by 1/2, and that'll give us our answer. So we're going to use this formula. So the key is, again, look for the two bases. Look for the two sides that are parallel. See, again, they could give us this side. They could tell us this is 10, and this is maybe like 9.5. But we don't need those two. Those don't do anything with the problem. It's the side that's connected with the right angle symbol. And there'll be another right angle symbol right here if we need to put one there. And the two sides that are connected by that right angle symbol, the 14 and 8, are the two bases. So let's go ahead and rewrite our formula. It's 1/2 the height times by base 1 plus base 2. And so I'll go ahead and substitute my numbers in there, 1/2 height. And so in place of the height, let's go ahead and write the number 9. And so we have 9, and 1/2 times by 9, times by the bases being added together, 8 plus 14. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and add those two bases together. So I still have this area equals 1/2 times by 9. And now this is times by 8 plus 14 gives me 22. So let's go ahead and multiply those two numbers, the 9 and the 22. So 9 times 22 gives me 198. So now I have area equals 1/2 times by 198. So now I need 2 times by 1/2. Well, to do that, I'm just dividing by 2. I'm doing 2 into 198. Well, 2 goes into 19, goes in there 9 times. And that leaves me with 18. Subtract, I get 1 left over. 2 goes into 18 9 times. So there's my area. Area equals 99. Now this time I have units, yards. Yards squared. That would be my answer. So let's take a look at the next one here. Again, they could give us lengths of the sides, but we don't need those. All we need are the two sides going the same direction. Those are the two bases. And so we'll go ahead and rewrite our formula here. Area equals 1/2 the height times by the sum of the two bases. And so I go ahead and substitute my numbers in there. And it doesn't matter which one you call base 1 or base 2. That does not matter. All that matters is that we have the two sides parallel or being added together, and they're multiplied by the distance between those two sides, 6 meters. And so let's go ahead and rewrite what we've got. 1/2 times by the height, which is 6, times by the sum of the two bases, 5 plus 9. And so let's go ahead and add some of those numbers together. Area equals 1/2 times by 6 times by 5 plus 9 makes 14. Now, you could multiply in any order. We could take half of 6 and then multiply by 14. Or we could do 6 times 14 and then divide by 2. Either of those ways would get us the same exact answer. We'll stick with the same way we've been doing it. We'll go 1/2 times by, and I'll multiply those two numbers. And that gives me 84 when I multiply them. 6 times 4 is 24, carry a 2. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 makes 8. So now I just need to divide by 2. So I'm at this stage now, so I'm doing 2 into 84. Well, 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 4 2 times. And so 42 is the area. But what are the units? M. M stands for meters. So I have meters squared. So looking at our last problem here, it gives us the state of Missouri. It says it's shaped somewhat like a trapezoid. So you can kind of see it here. Here's the base 1, here's base 2 being a little bit different. And then I'll just draw a line going straight down this way, and then a line kind of going out in this direction. So you can kind of see the shape's more or less like a trapezoid. And what they want to do is they want us to approximate the area. And that's what we're going to do here. So just bigger numbers, but same sort of thing. So we've got the area equals 1/2 the height times by the sum of the two bases. And so we go ahead and substitute those numbers in there. So we've got 1/2 times by the height, 290, times by 170 plus 310. And so let's go ahead and add those two numbers together, the two bases. Area equals 1/2 times by 290, and then this is being multiplied by, now we've got to add these numbers together. So we get a 0, an 8, 1 plus 7 makes 8, 1 plus 3 makes 4. So now we need to multiply these two numbers together. So we have 290 times by 480. And that gives us a large number. So let's go ahead and rewrite our area equals 1/2 times by, and it's 139,200 is what we get. So now we've got our division problem. So we're at the stage where we just need to divide 2 into that 139,200. So it's just 2 into 13 to start with. That goes 6 times. 12, so we have 1 left over. And we bring down the 9, so that goes in there 9 times. It makes 18. We've got 1 left over, carry a 2, so that goes in there 6 times evenly. And then we're just at those zeros that we just need to fill in. So there's our answer. Area equals, we have 69,600, and then these are miles squared. So square miles. So large area there, 69,600 square miles is an approximate area. So those are the types of problems you'll see on tonight's homework. Good luck.